Hey everyone, Emily here and welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to be making a twist on one of my favorite soups, French onion soup, and turning it into a sandwich. This is going to be kind of a twist between a grilled cheese and a French dip, except using caramelized onions and gruyere. It's going to be really good. I'll show you how to put this together. Let's get started. I'm going to get started by slicing up quite a few yellow onions. I'll probably end up using 3 or 4 medium yellow onions. This is the most time-consuming part. Just want to cut these in half, take off the skins, and give them a really thin slice across. This is going to allow them to caramelize and cook a little bit quicker. We haven't even started and I'm already starting to get teared up. It always makes me a little emotional. When you're slicing these, you have the top and the root end that you've cut off. You're just going to make your slices perpendicular to that and keep them fairly thin and uniform in size. That way the onions cook quickly and caramelize as fast as possible. You get some nice slices that look just like this. Now I'm going to repeat that with the rest of my onions and pop this into a hot pan, and hopefully I don't tear up too much. I have a nice big pile of onions, and believe it or not, this is going to be enough for about 2 to 3 sandwiches. These really cook down when you caramelize them, so you need a lot more than you think. I'm going to take these over to the stove and start cooking. I have a large deep pan heating up over medium-low heat on the stove. I'm going to give this a good coating of olive oil, and I'm going to toss in my onions. I'll season this with about a teaspoon or so of salt and give this a stir to coat everything in the salt and oil. The salt will help some of that moisture draw out of the onions, and we'll just cook this very slowly until they're cooked down and have a dark, deep caramelized color. To help give the onions a little bit of a head start in cooking down, I'm going to cover this and let it sit untouched for about 5 to 10 minutes. It's been a little over 5 minutes, so I'm going to take off my lid, and you'll notice the onions have already reduced a little bit in size. A lot of steam in there. All of that steam is helping our onions soften up. I'll give these a stir, kind of break up some of these larger clumps a little bit, and then just continue cooking this low and slow until everything's caramelized. You'll stir this occasionally so that nothing burns, but overall you do want to let it be so that the onions can form that caramelized layer on them. This should take overall about 40 minutes to even an hour. While the onions are cooking, I'm going to slice up my baguette and grate some gruyere cheese. I'll just set my baguette aside on a pan and move on to my cheese. You'll want to grate a decent amount, about 1/2 to 2/3 cup. My onions have finished cooking. They're the perfect color and consistency, so I'm going to remove them from the pan and put them into a bowl. We have all those nice flavors from the caramelized onion in the bottom of our pan. So I'm going to add in a nice splash of a dry white wine, about 1/4 cup. Just make it something that you'd like to drink because the flavor is going to be a little bit more concentrated in this. Let this bubble around and deglaze the pan. It's going to get all the flavors off the bottom. I'll add in about a teaspoon of thyme and a 1.5 cups of either beef or vegetable broth. At this point, you can turn your heat up. We can move this up to about a medium-high heat, and we're going to let this simmer away until it slightly reduces, and this is going to be our sauce for dipping our sandwiches. While our broth simmers on the stove, I'm going to build our sandwiches because we have to broil these. I'm going to start with a layer of gruyere cheese on the bottom of my baguette. And then on top of that, I'm going to do a nice thick layer of the caramelized onions. Now these are going to have such a nice sweet flavor, completely different from raw onions. gonna be so good. And then on top of that, I'm going to do a nice light layer of Gruyere cheese. And then onto the top of my other baguette, this is gonna be the top of the sandwich, I'm going to add another layer of Gruyere, just so everything gets nice and caramelized under the broiler. I'm gonna pop this into the oven until everything's bubbly and just starting to brown. This looks absolutely fantastic and it smells amazing. The cheese is nice and bubbly on top, and we're ready to put our sandwich together. Now be careful because this is still really hot, but I'm going to place the top of my baguette onto my sandwich and then move this to my cutting board. And look at that, just delicious. Let's plate this up and give it a try. I have my broth here for dipping off on the side. So I'll grab a third of this sandwich, give it a dip, and let's see how it is. That's so good. This is amazing. It tastes exactly like French onion soup, but in sandwich form. Really sweet because of the caramelized onions, that Gruyere cheese is perfect, and having that little broth to dip it in just adds to that French onion soup flavor. This is amazing. I hope you try it, and I hope you like it. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, don't forget to hit subscribe and the bell icon so you can get notified every time I post. As always, you can find the full recipe to this in the description box down below, along with links to all my social media pages and my Amazon page where you can find all my cooking favorites. Hope to see you back here next time.